Hey guys, Viktor has just received a mini rework that is going to completely change up the mid lane meta in Season 11, and I'm so happy for this change because I've been wanting it for years. Hey guys, Snow here, and make sure to hit the subscribe button for more league updates and guides. In this video, we're going to focus on Viktor's changed stats, the removal of his Hex Core, but then at the end, we're going to talk about the new items and the best way to play him in Season 11. During Season 10, Viktor struggled to find his grip in the meta, and the main thing that kept him back was his Hex Core item. This item was specific to only him, and he had to upgrade it in order to be useful at all. This really put him in a corner because if you backed or died without enough gold to upgrade your Hex Core, you were stuck between buying small items or saving that gold that could eventually be used on the Hex Core. Now, this might not seem like that big of a deal, but it made Viktor lane in a way that other mages don't have to. He had to play safer and rely on last hitting because his very kit depended on it. He couldn't try and trade with his opponents or all in because it was usually a lose-lose situation. Even if he won the trade, he might lose HP and have to back early and he wouldn't be able to buy his Hex Core, or he might lose the trade and have to back early and not be able to buy his Hex Core. But with him receiving this rework, it completely changes the way he can lane. He can be more aggressive, take trades, and even threaten all-ins because he no longer has to worry about that 1150 gold threshold. Instead of buying his upgrades, he now receives Hex Fragments, and at 100 fragments, he is able to upgrade his abilities. His abilities are the same upgraded, but this gives him more freedom in what to do in lane. Each minion and monster killed gives 1 Hex Fragment. Cannon minions will give 5, and a kill or an assist will give 25. This is an amazing buff, and I really think it'll make him OP as we head into Season 11. It allows him to look for early kills, adapt his itemization early, and work with early recalls to set up some nasty freezes. This will make his laning phase much more rewarding to play. But I will say, from the many games I've already played with him this preseason, beware of when you hit your upgrades. There was a time where I thought it was a normal ability upgrade and I accidentally upgraded my Q first instead of my E, so just keep an eye out for that because it can sneak up on you and seem like you leveled up. Because they got rid of the scaling Hex Core, he no longer gains passive AP and mana per level, so they compensated for this by giving him 2 buffs. The first buff is that they increase his mana growth from 25 to 45 per level, and the second is that they increase the AP ratio on his E from 60 to 70%, and then the second shock from 70 to 80%. Overall, these changes allow Viktor to be more dominant in lane and allow you to not be resident sleeper as you slowly upgrade your Hex Core without trying to get into too much trouble. You can now take good trades, poke, and lane like a normal champion. But along with this rework, the entire game has changed, and there are a lot of changed items and new items in the game that shake things up for mid lane mages. There are 3 mythic items that give AP and mana, and all 3 of these will be useful on Viktor, but I think that the 2 that will be built most often are Luden's Tempest and Liandry's Anguish. These both offer burst and burn, which have historically been great stats on Viktor, so I decided to get into a custom game and figure out which one would be better depending on what class of champions you'll be up against. Now, this isn't a flawless scientific process, but will hopefully give us a little bit of room to figure out what to do on Viktor now. So I went into the practice tool, got to level 18, and got full build because I wanted to see how these mythic items interacted with the other major items that Viktor builds. Then I had him use his regular combo and his ult combo on 3 different types of dummies. The first dummy is imitating an ADC or other squishy champion with 30 resistances and 1500 health. The second was imitating a bruiser and had 100 resistances with 2000 health. And the last was imitating a tank with 200 resistances and 3000 health. Like I said, this is not a flawless process, but this is going to help us figure out what item will help Viktor do the most damage in a game. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that Liandry's Anguish will give more ability haste, which is the new form of cooldown reduction. This means Viktor will be able to use his abilities more often than he would be with Luden's Tempest. This might change the amount of damage he can get off in a fight, but for this experiment, we're just focusing on 1 combo. Luden's Tempest also gives 5 magic pen per legendary item, so we might see that come out in the damage against the dummy imitating the squishy champions. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the numbers. And we're going to start with Luden's Tempest, and without Viktor's ultimate, he dealt 3,191 damage. And the combo with his ultimate, with all 6 procs hitting, he did 6,680 damage. That is insane. That's like 5 ADCs with 1 combo. For the Bruiser, without his ultimate, he did 2,610 damage, but with the combo with his ultimate, he did 5,291 damage. This is still very substantial and a ton of damage. Okay, now for the tank, without his ultimate, he did 1,699 damage, but with his ultimate, he did 3,446 damage. Now hopping over to Liandry's Anguish against the squishy dummy, without his ultimate, his combo did 2,927 damage, which is less than Luden's Tempest. With his ultimate, he did 6,187 damage, which is 500 less than Luden's. Against the Bruiser, he did 2,152, and with his ultimate, he did 4,777. And finally, against the tank dummy, without his ultimate, his combo did 1,559 damage, and with his ultimate, it did 3,530 damage. So from these numbers, it looks like Luden's Tempest is the best choice in most, if not all, situations. The only situation where Liandry's Anguish performed better was against tanks, where Viktor was able to get all of his ultimate procs off, and even then, the damage difference wasn't what I expected. I thought that the burn damage would give the edge against bruisers and tanks, but from this specific experiment, it shows that Luden's Tempest will be Viktor's go-to starting item in almost all situations. But before we call it a wash, it is important to understand the haste differences in these items. The haste on Liandry's Anguish will allow Viktor to get out more abilities in a fight, which potentially means more damage. But for the most part, burst damage is more important on Viktor than relying on multiple ability rotations, so I'm going to keep building Luden's Tempest first and look to the legendary items to make up some of that ability haste. And as usual, even though Lichbane was changed, I think it will be a core item on Viktor, along with the classics like Zhonya's and Deathcap. These paired with Sork Shoes will allow Viktor to do some crazy damage throughout the game. And as far as runes go, we'll have to see which one gains popularity for Viktor. Phase Rush, Electrocute, and Comet all seem like great options, but we'll have to see which one optimizes with his new rework and the new items the best, and this will take some time and experimentation. So how should we play Viktor in Season 11? So the way that you want to play Viktor in Season 11 only really changes in the early and the mid game. You will still play team fights and late game scenarios the same way, which is to stay alive and do as much damage as possible, but his early game does change a little bit. As opposed to before, when you could just try to play safe and back for 1,150 gold, you can now play a little bit more aggressive, because backing with less gold than that will allow you to build into Luden's Tempest, so you're not really going to lose much if you have to back early. So from what I've experienced so far, you'll want to kind of act like a lane bully and focus on getting high CS numbers by autoing some of the melees early on the first wave, and then match the autos of your lane opponent. When you do this, make sure to use your abilities on your opponent and only use your autos on the minions. This will help you build an HP advantage and help you increase your CS lead or look for a kill. Against melee champions, your goal is to freeze the wave early, and you can do this by letting your opponent push, but make sure to match most of the autos so that you don't tank a lot of damage or let the wave crash into your turret. The goal is to have your melee opponent overextend for farm so you can use your fast combo on them to punish their positioning, or they'll be scared and it'll allow you to build a big CS lead. They are both wins. Viktor's main counters won't be assassins or short-range mages, but unkillable, long-range mages like Xerath and Vel'Koz. They majorly outrange Viktor and provide a real problem for him to deal with in lane and especially in team fights. But overall, congratulations, Viktor. You're back to being a normal champion. Because of these changes, you can now lane normally, thank goodness, and use your burst to get kills and build gold leads. Guys, if you liked the video, please subscribe to the channel to see more like it. And also tell me in the comments what other videos you want to see on pre-season 11. There are so many new changes and way too many things to make videos about before the ranked season starts in January. So go ahead and tell me down below what you want to see. And also, if you have any suggestions for the next Ticket to Diamond video, stay tuned to a post where we might take a poll to decide what champion that's going to be. And as always, this has been Snowda. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.